to my channel. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer. In this video, I'm going to be going over the energy of the new moon in Gemini at 26 degrees. We are having this new moon June 18th, 2023, depending on your time zone, but I'm going to pull up the chart so that if your time zone, I'm here in Ontario, Canada, Southern Ontario. So if your time zone is different, you can adjust it for your time zone, which I will get into. So I'm going to pull up the chart, go through all of that energy with you. And then for the second portion of this video, I'm going to get into all 12 rising signs. That way you're able to see how this energy is showing up for you personally. You can get an idea of the themes and topics coming up. And with every new moon, this is a time for us to set intentions. And how I work with the moon, and what I discovered this through journaling. I started journaling all my personal transits, journaling the moons, how I was feeling. So this is really something to get into. If this is something you're interested in, is you can start journaling. But what I found is that the intentions I set at the time of the new moon tend to come to fruition at the time of the full moon in that same sign. So 6 months later. So definitely something to keep in mind. Now, the full moon in Gemini is going to be November 27th, 2023 at 4 degrees. So whatever intentions you are setting now with the new moon, you can start to plan and see that they will come to fruition the end of November. Now, I did put in my notes when I was looking at those charts and looking at that full moon in Gemini, that full moon in Gemini is going to be square Saturn. So I found that really interesting because once we get into the chart and we go through some of that energy, there's a lot of interesting energy with this new moon, but then again, there's a lot of twists and turns. There's going to be a lot showing up in this whole Gemini moon process that is going to be blockages, things that need to be released, also having to do with commitments and responsibilities because it's going to have that Saturn energy. So come end of November, in order to really bring these intentions into fruition and manifest, there can be something that finally needs to be released and let go of. So just be mindful of that, jot it down, put it in your notes, or come back and watch this video in November. But I just wanted to put it out there because I thought it was interesting, and it's kind of going to be part of this whole Gemini moon process. So now I will bring up the chart and we can get right into it. Okay, so here we have the new moon chart. So you can adjust for your time zone. I'm here in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, June 18th, 2023. And the time for me here is this new moon will be taking place at 12:36 a.m. So that's why you want to adjust, because it could be late June 17th, or it could be a little bit later on June 18th. So how you would adjust is when you go to look up the chart, this new moon is happening at 26 degrees and 43 minutes. Now, right off the hop, we can look, there's quite a lot of interesting energy. So this new moon is at 26 degrees of Gemini. The dispositor, the ruler of this new moon, is Mercury here at 11 degrees, and it's in its home sign in Gemini. So there is a lot of energy with this new moon that's Gemini. There's not really much added. Sometimes when the dispositor, the ruler, is in another energy, there's more to that story, another energy and another sign, which is another energy. There's kind of more to the story, but it seems like this new moon's really highlighting these Gemini themes and topics. So Gemini themes and topics can be communicating, reading, writing, your mind and mindset. This can be individually. Now, when I dove into my intuition collectively, we're talking about a lot of news, a lot of media information, a lot of news stories coming out, which we are already seeing. We are seeing a lot of weirdness on the news, on social media, and I think we will be seeing more of that because if you look here, we have that new moon at 26 degrees of Gemini squaring Neptune at 27 degrees of Pisces. This is where something's unclear. There can be deception. So we want to watch to see what is showing up on the news, what is coming out, because there's something that's unclear about that story. There can be something deceiving, something that we're kind of like, what's going on? Which there has been some stories like that where we're like, what? I mean, don't get me wrong. I do believe in, aliens, but not the way they're portraying. Anyways, that's just my personal belief. But yeah, comment below. What do you guys think about that? That whole story. But this is where we can just see more weirdness. We can see more weirdness coming on the news, more news stories coming out. And that's collectively where we really want to watch the messages, the information, and what we're seeing and make sure that we're really seeing things clearly. There's no I've said, oh my gosh. I was going to say, make sure there's no deception because there is the energy there for that. Now, individually, this can really show up as receiving information and messages, or really seeing something with rose-colored glasses on, because that's another Neptune energy where we're just seeing things, kind of over idealizing things, seeing things with rose-colored glasses on, sometimes not really seeing things for what they are, but what we want them to be. That's another theme with this energy. So we do want to be mindful of what is showing up at this time for you personally, and just make sure you have all the facts, you really know what's going on before you take action, or whatever the case is for you. But that's an energy that we want to be mindful of. We want to make sure that we are not over idealizing any situation. We want to make sure we have all the facts. Another energy with this is escapism. This can be a time where you just don't want to deal with it, and maybe you just want to go and do something else. You're not bothering, you're not attending to this, you're not going to even, you just don't feel like you want to. So you do want to watch for those escapism kind of tendencies with this energy. Now, another thing here is that with this new moon squaring Neptune, Neptune also can represent spirituality and creativity. So this can be a time period where maybe you're finding it harder to really have that spiritual connection. You might feel like you need to take more time out for yourself because there's a lot going on around you, or there's just a lot of energies that's kind of bogging you down. So you do want to watch too, or clean your energy. Like, I keep feeling like clean your energy, do what you have to do that works for you, eat healthy, drink a lot of water, get your feet on the ground and do some earthing, do some whatever you find helpful when it comes to your spiritual connection. If you're struggling with this, that can definitely help in, helping you with that, with building that spiritual connection. If that's something that you're finding difficult at this time. With creativity, this can really be an energy where you're having a difficult time with creativity. Maybe you're feeling some type of creative blockage in some way. So it's an energy that will pass. Of course, the sun and the moon move quite fast. It's just that during this time period, and I can relate. Like, I've been having for the last few days, probably all this week, I struggled with really creating, and I tried to make videos for days and was like, I'm not feeling it. And I don't like to really make videos if my energy is not right, because I don't like to put that energy out there. But it took like 3 days to really feel that, probably more than 3 days, probably 4 or 5, to really feel like, okay, today's the day. And today, me recording this on, what's the date? It's Friday, the 16th. I waited so long, but it's because I had to feel that energetic click in order to do it, because I never want to put kind of nasty energy out there. If my energy isn't clean, I don't want to put that out to you guys. I like to give you guys my best energetically. So this is just something that you can kind of went on a rant there, but this is something that you just might be struggling with at this time. Let the energy pass. It will pass. Just a journal. You can even just meditate and do some writing. What I find helps, and maybe this helps you, is I just get into my energetic zone and I close my eyes. I kind of meditate. It's quiet, and then I just start writing down whatever comes. I believe it's called like automatic writing or something like that. I know there's a term for it, but I actually find it really helps. And if this is something you're struggling with, you can try this and just see what comes up. Sometimes we're writing and we think it doesn't make sense, but then we are like, oh my gosh, there's a message in here, So that's just another energy we can be moving through at this time, especially like over the weekend. Another energy here I really want to bring up is this T square here between Pluto and the North and South node. This is an energy that we've already been in and moving through. However, now that Pluto retrogrades back in Capricorn, it's moving closer to the nodes. In July, we are going to have quite a bit intense energy. I'm going to be doing a video and doing another chart demonstration, kind of like how I did with that one video. I called it Breaking Point. I'm going to be doing that again because another chart demonstration on this energy. And that's when Pluto comes exact to the nodes. And there's also a whole bunch of other stuff happening at the same time. So it's going to feel intense. So watch for that video. I'll be posting that soon. That's not until around July 20th, July 21st, 22nd. So it's mid to late July where we will really have this like intensity of it. But again, we just have this, we still are moving through this Pluto T square to the nodes. And this is really all a part of our transformation process. So whatever you're moving through individually, whatever has been showing up for you, you may have found that lately there's been a lot coming to the surface of you possibly realizing old karmic cycles, old karmic patterns, realizing who and what is no longer in alignment with you. This is a lot of energy. We're moving through a lot of energy around releasing and letting go what is no longer in alignment, because once those nodes shift into Aries, and I've been talking about this forever. Once that North Node goes in Aries, we're talking about self-empowerment and just completely just self-discovery, self-advent. We're like just going right into the self-development, discovering who you truly are and your personal power and really growing. So it's like we're at this process now of clearing the deck and releasing what and who is no longer in alignment. And especially when it comes to karmic cycles or karmic behaviors, patterns that maybe you've been dragging with you your entire life. And I talked about this a little bit in my Saturn and Pisces video, the Saturn retrograde and Pisces video. I just posted that. If you want to know a little bit about the energy with Saturn retrograde and Pisces, you can check that out. I go into all 12 rising signs as well. But even going through that energy, that's going on from June to November. And even that is this energy of kind of knowing and understanding these karmic cycles and completely just reevaluating and releasing just karmic baggage and endings of cycles and just bringing in new stuff that's in alignment with you. So it's where we have a lot of this challenging energy. I always say that's why I love to do these chart videos, because there's always avenues to work with the energy when we look at the chart. And we can also see how to really use the energy and utilize the energy. So that's why I do these kind of demonstration videos. But where there's challenging energy, there's a lot of empowering energy as well that we will be coming into. And whenever we release, for something to kind of be rebuilt, it has to kind of fall down in a sense. It's like that tower moment. So it's interesting. We're in it. We're moving through it. I would love to hear in the comments below if you're moving through anything, if you want to share, or if you have any questions. Now, one other thing about this chart that I really want to bring up is right here we have Neptune at 27 degrees sextiling Pluto. And I thought that this was really interesting because, again, this can have to do with bringing things up, because we have this new moon squaring Neptune, and then Neptune is sextiling Pluto. So it's almost like whatever's coming up at this time is kind of a part of our transformation process. And it really just diving into your spiritual practice, really building on that connection can help in the transformation process, in that kind of sticky energy with Pluto, especially Pluto squaring the nodes. You can really use that Neptune energy to help move through that, which is really meditating, developing that strong spiritual connection, diving into who you truly are and growing on that, seeing I've also had, this is something I've been dealing with too, is I get these intuitive downloads and then they're gone. I go to say them and they're gone. And this is something I've been going through all week. And I think it has to do with that Neptune square to the new moon. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have been doing it too, because oh my goodness. So yes, we got that Neptune sextile to Pluto. This can also bring in an opportunity or something coming in that you can take action on when it has to do with the direction that you are moving in. And this new moon in Gemini can highlight that a little bit for you. Now, I want you to just note here before we get into all 12 rising signs, we have Venus and Mars only 5 degrees away in Leo. And the beautiful thing about Venus being in Leo, and if you haven't checked out my Venus and Leo video, make sure you do. I get into all of that energy that Venus will be going through during her Leo process, during her Leo transit. And I also get into all 12 rising signs. So you can check that out. Now, Venus and Mars do not form a conjunction exactly. They get to about a couple degrees away, but they're moving closer. So at this point, we've got the king and the queen in Leo, which represents royalty, leaders. So this can be a very passionate energy. This can be really bring in, and I mean, this is kind of forming a trine to Chiron. So this really shows, that there are maybe some personal connections in your life that can help with that transformation process and healing journey that you're moving through. This can also represent, because we have Mars. We have Mars moving close, not exact now, but Mars is eventually going to square Uranus, which I will talk about in a later video, especially my weekly forecast. Make sure you watch those. But Mars square Uranus is going to be very disruptive, collectively and individually. But Venus and Mars having that conjunction can be passionate. It can also be a sign of developing those connections. And Venus and Leo's a very courageous energy. So this can show that whatever it is that you're currently moving through, you have Venus and Leo, which is that supportive energy, giving you that courage to truly do what it is that you need to do. So it's really beautiful with that, and Venus is sextiling Mercury at the same time, which is the dispositor of the new moon. So Venus in Leo, not quite a conjunction to Mars, about 5 degrees away, sextiling the dispositor of the new moon. So whatever you're moving through, you have that Venus energy really giving you the support, giving you the courage to step into this new version, whatever is in alignment, whatever you're currently moving through at this time. Just remember you have Venus and Leo supporting you on your way, giving you that courage. So that's really, and that can have to do with, like, Venus represents finances. So again, this can also be something in the news. We can hear something in the news. Actually, this is just coming to me too. Like, we can hear something in the news about our finances and financial institutions, which we've been moving through a lot of that energy. Even the last new moon in Taurus, there was a lot around that. And again, whatever we're hearing, because it's the new moon squaring Neptune, whatever we're hearing at this time, we just want to be careful. We want to make sure I wouldn't make any decisions around this time. If you can hold off, I would. But this is, yeah. And with Venus sextiling Mercury as well, this can bring in an opportunity for you when it has to do with your finances. But again, make sure you have all the details, make sure you everything's clear. And then with relationships, this is messages and things coming in that you can take action with. But again, you want to make sure that, like, if you're going on a date, because this can be, you're going on a date, but there's something about that person that's not known, that you don't know about. So if you're going on a date around this new moon, you just want to be careful. Make sure you just know there's something maybe with that person that you're unclear of, or that can feel deceptive. So maybe just hold on, get to know them a little bit better. Don't make any rash decisions, because again, we've got a lot of that Neptune energy. So we want to make sure that we are kind of seeing things and not over idolizing. But anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this chart demonstration. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. And if you align with my energy and enjoy my content, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and let's get into, well, I will connect with you like this in the next video. And now let's get into all 12 rising signs. Aries, you have this new moon in Gemini happening in your third house. And the third house represents your local community, your neighbors, your neighborhood, also speaking, writing, reading, communicating, publishing, and siblings, cousins, vehicles. So this can really be a time where you can set intentions with anything that has to do with those themes and topics. Because it's the third house and you already have that supportive energy from this Gemini and Mercury new moon, that you really have a lot of supportive energy here for communicating, reading, writing, or speaking. If that is something that is in alignment with you that you're wanting to do, you have that beautiful supportive sextile from Venus and Leo in your fifth house. And the fifth house represents creativity, passion, play. So this is a really beautiful energy to work with your creativity and develop something really beautiful. This is also a really supportive energy to develop some nice and beautiful, passionate connections with someone that you're possibly meeting or somebody that's already in your environment. Taurus, you have this new moon in Gemini happening in your second house, and the second house represents your money, your finances, your material possessions, also your values, your self-worth, and personal values, how you feel about yourself. So this new moon in Gemini can be highlighting those themes and topics for you, possibly reprogramming that in some way, or something coming in around your money, your finances, or reprogramming your self-worth, your values. Now you have that beautiful supportive energy from Venus and Leo in your fourth house of home, family, property. So there can be something, an opportunity, or some type of supportive energy coming in to help around your home and family, to help with finances or money in some way, or some support to help in something that you're currently moving through when it has to do with your self-worth or anything that you're moving through really at this time. But this new moon is really a beautiful energy to set intentions for anything that really has to do with your money and finances. At the time of the full moon, November 27th, 2023, is when we have our full moon in Gemini. That's when you can start to see your intentions come to fruition. Gemini, you have this new moon happening in your first house. This is your new moon, so congratulations. During this new moon process, it's a really beautiful time to set some intentions with anything that really has to do with you, your appearance, your physical body, your character, your personality. If there is something that you have been wanting to reprogram or change, this is a time to really set those intentions, even if it has to do with your mindset. This is Gemini and Mercury energy. There's a lot of support here for something when it has to do with communicating, reading, speaking, writing, or really reprogramming your mind or old belief systems in some way. We have Venus in Leo, which is currently in your third house. So again, the third house represents communicating, reading, speaking, writing. So if there is something that is in alignment with you right now when it has to do with those themes and topics, and you're really wanting to get it going and moving, now is the time to really get that, start creating, start writing, start listening to your intuitive downloads, because by the time we have that full moon in Gemini, November 27th, 2023, you can start to see whatever intentions you're setting now come to fruition. Cancer, you have this new moon in Gemini happening in your 12th house. And the 12th house can represent spirituality, places that are hidden like prisons, asylums, hospitals. But the 12th house can also represent old karmic cycles, behaviors, patterns, isolation, self-undoing. And really endings. And because we have that sextile from Venus and Leo, which is in your second house, I really feel like this new moon in Gemini is going to be highlighting old programs around your self-worth, your self-love. And this can really be a time of realization of those old programs and ending them, releasing them, letting them go for good, so that you can really bring in some new programs, some new energy around what is in alignment with you now, how you feel about yourself now, your self-worth, your self-love, your self-value. And you may find that whatever is started now at the time of the new moon in Gemini, when we have that full moon in Gemini, November 27th, 2023, you will start to finally see your intentions you're setting now come to fruition and feel those new programs around your self-worth and self-love. Leo, you have this new moon in Gemini happening in your 11th house. The 11th house represents friends, friendships, social groups, online connections, and we have Venus in Leo, which is in your first house, sextiling the ruler, the dispositor of this new moon. So this is a really beautiful supportive energy to set some intentions. If you're trying to put something online or create something online, you really have a lot of supportive energy for that. Now, something else that may be highlighted at this time is something with your friends or social groups or friendships. We have that square from Neptune, the square between Neptune and this new moon. So there might be something with your friendships or between you and a friend that is unclear, or maybe you're feeling a little deceived in some way. Now remember, whatever seeds and intentions you set at the time of this new moon, you will see around November 27th, 2023, when we have the full moon in Gemini, you will start to see those intentions come to fruition. So this is really a good time, Leo, to set some intentions. If this is in alignment with you and you're wanting to put something online around speaking, writing, communicating, you really have a lot of beautiful supportive energy for that at this time. Virgo, you have this new moon happening in your 10th house. So the 10th house represents your career, your public reputation. So this would be a really perfect time to set intentions around your career or any business ventures. You currently have Venus in your 12th house forming a sextile to the ruler of this new moon. So this can really be when you have opportunities or some type of personal connections that can be really supportive in these business ventures, or developing personal connections that can be supportive in your career in some way or business ventures. Now, you have this new moon squaring Neptune, which is in your 7th house. This can really show up as personal connections or someone in your life where you are not seeing something clear that can be highlighted at the time of this new moon. So you definitely want to be mindful of that. Make sure that you are not over idealizing anything. You're not seeing things with rose-colored glasses on, and that you are seeing things clearly if you are meeting anybody new. Now, remember that we have the full moon in Gemini, November 27th, 2023, and that is when you will finally see the intentions that you set at the time of this new moon come to fruition. Libra, you have this new moon in Gemini happening in your 9th house, and the 9th house represents higher education, higher wisdom, higher knowledge, also philosophy, your belief systems, and long distance travel. So this would be a really great time to set intentions around traveling, especially with a friend, because we have that supportive sextile from Venus in your 11th house of friendships. So this is where you may find that you and a friend are starting to make travel plans. This can also be a really good time to set intentions or really start thinking about going back to school or taking a course. This can also show up as a knowing and understanding of old programs, old belief systems that you're no longer in alignment with. Now, you have that a square to Neptune, which is in your 6th house of health, work, and daily routine. So there may be something that's unclear around the time of this new moon when it has to do with your health, your work, or your daily routine, what you're doing day to day. There might be some confusion around those themes and topics. And also remember that whatever intentions you set at the time of the new moon, you will start to see those intentions come to fruition at the time of the full moon, November 27th, 2023, when we have the full moon in Gemini. Scorpio, you have this new moon happening in your 8th house, and the 8th house can really highlight your partner's finances or money coming in from outside resources. Possibly if you're trying to get a loan, something along those lines. It can also represent psychological healing and transformation. So this can be a time where you're finding those themes and topics are highlighted with that square to Neptune. If you are trying to get money or there's money coming in from outside resources or something going on with your partner's finances, there might be something unclear there or something that shows up that you're not really understanding. Also, because Neptune is in Pisces, which is in your 5th house of creativity, your passions, your play. This can also, your passions, your play, passions and play. This can also be a time where you're possibly just feeling these creative blocks. Now, you do have a supportive energy. We have Venus in Leo, which is currently in your 10th house of career, sextiling the dispositor, the ruler of this new moon. So this can be a beautiful time to really set intentions when it has to do with your career, and you can possibly have some really beautiful supportive energy or opportunities showing up at this time. Sagittarius, you have this Gemini new moon happening in your 7th house. So the 7th house represents relationships, close personal connections, partnerships, business partnerships. So this is a perfect time to set intentions with anything that really has to do with you and developing personal connections. This can also be a time where there can be themes and topics highlighted around your close personal connections. With that square to Neptune, which is in Pisces in your 4th house of home and family, there can be something that's unclear here when it has to do with people in your life, close personal connections, or even, I wouldn't suggest if you're going to go on a date, maybe wait, make sure that you're not seeing things with rose-colored glasses on or over idealizing anything. Make sure you are seeing everything. Wait till the new moon passes so that you can make sure you're seeing things clearly. You're really seeing this person clearly. Now, other than that, you have that beautiful supportive sextile from Venus, which is in your 9th house of belief systems, higher education, higher knowledge. So this can really be a time where you are reprogramming your belief systems around relationships, what you want, what you need, what you're done with, what you're no longer in alignment with. So it really can be a beautiful supportive energy, Sagittarius. Capricorn, you have this new moon in Gemini happening in your 6th house, and the 6th house represents your work, health, and daily routine. So this is a really good time to set intentions when it has to do with some new nutrition habits, some new daily routine, something you really want to implement, like a workout routine, or even something that has to do with your work or your health. Now, remember that we do tend to see our intentions our manifestations come to fruition at the time of the full moon in that same sign, which is going to be November 27th, 2023, when we see the full moon in Gemini. So keep that in the back of your mind, that whatever seeds or intentions you set now, that you can start to see the fruits of your labor at the end of November. Now, we do have a square to Neptune with this new moon, which is in your 3rd house, and the 3rd house can represent community, neighbors, neighborhood, siblings, cousins, also reading, writing, speaking, communicating. So there may be something unclear when it comes to those themes and topics, or there may be a blockage coming from something around that when it has to do with something that you're trying to implement with this new energy that's coming in when it has to do with your nutrition, your health, your work, your day-to-day life. So definitely something to be mindful of. Aquarius, you have this new moon in Gemini happening in your 5th house, and the 5th house represents creativity, what you're passionate about, what you do for fun, also your children. So this new moon is really highlighting all of those themes and topics. This would be a really good time to set intentions for something that you really want to create, or anything that really has to do with your creativity, your passions, or even something around your children or having children. And remember that we do tend to see the fruition, our intentions come to fruition at the time of the full moon in that same sign, which is November 27th, 2023. So whatever intentions you set now, you can start to see the manifestations around the end of November. Now, this new moon is squared by Neptune, which you have in your 2nd house of money, finances, material possessions, also yourself, your values, your self-worth. So there can be something unclear when it has to do with your money or your finances around this time. Really definitely kind of blocking these fifth house topics in some way. So definitely something that you want to be mindful of. Pisces, you have this new moon in Gemini happening in your fourth house of home, family, property, real estate. So this would be a really beautiful time to set intentions when it has to do with your home, whether it's buying a home or doing something new with your home, renovating. You definitely have the energy there to support that. You currently have Neptune transiting your first house, which is going to be squaring this new moon. So there might be something here that's unclear when it has to do with you and maybe how you're feeling about the situation or how you're feeling about your home, your family, possibly even parents or your property. So definitely something to be mindful of. And always remember that the intentions you set at the time of the new moon tend to come to fruition and manifest at the time of the full moon in that same sign. So the full moon in Gemini is happening November 27th, 2023. So whatever seeds, intentions you set now, you can start to see the manifestations of the end of November.